Welcome to the study. This is Brofessor Hemlock. Today I want to go over basic to intermediate concepts of single target rotations and how they function. So to start off with basic concepts, we're going to talk about talent selection and secondary stat selection. So the important note here is for single target, overpowered and rune of powered are the preferred builds, with slipstring being the preferred talent for mobility. Now, in single target rotation encounters, such as Mythic Plus bosses or raid encounters, Echo is going to be our preferred talent as well. Now, I am using my alt here, which is nightfae. I have a lot of videos for Kyrian mages already on rotation and guides for that, so please look those up if you're Kyrian. But if you're necrolord, nightfae, or venthyr, here we are. So I really wanted to go over this for those that are fire mages starting to convert into arcane mages for the 9.1 changes, and a lot of the good things we're seeing for arcane coming into 9.1 with the potential for a 1-minute AP cooldown as nightfae. So I'm really excited for this, and I hope this build ends up working out really nicely. And we do get that 1-minute AP, and we can kind of really compete directly in the damage profiles. So going into the single target concepts, right? Echo is going to be your primary talent for single target. Now, why this is because missiles, every tick, it procs Echo. Okay, and that's the important thing you need to know out of all the basic concepts of why Echo's better. Resonance is only going to improve your barrage, but if you're doing a single target rotation, barrage is only going to get 15% damage increase from one target, where Echo is going to deal an exponentially larger amount of damage because it procs every single time missiles hits the target. So that is super valuable to understand, and Echo can be run very effectively on Tyrannical Week, and of course you'll want to run it in raid fights all the time. Secondary stats, I am running a very bad set of secondary stats on this alt here, but I kind of wanted to do that to demonstrate just how important secondary stats can be, in addition to bad secondary stats, how it's negatively going to impact you. Okay? So we're looking at Mastery and Haste. These are inverse secondary stats that can be really good for us or really bad for us. So the higher your Mastery value, the more you're going to generate mana. But the most important part of this is it's going to directly increase your mana pool, right? It increases your mana pool. So the important thing to note here is that Arcane Blast does a percentage-based mana cost. So the more mana you have, the higher mana Arcane Blast costs. Since it costs more mana, Clearcast procs are generated off of costing more mana. So we'll look through the talents here. We'll pull it up. Clearcasting. For each 250 mana you spend, you have a 1% chance to gain Clearcasting. All right, so the more mana I spend, the more chance of Clearcasting procs I gain. So if my Arcane Blast costs a bunch of mana, because it's a percentage-based mana spell, I am going to have a much higher chance of generating those Clearcast procs. And that is kind of an important factor in why Mastery is good. Now, why Haste is bad is because you're going to burn mana faster outside of those big burn phases. And spells in our Touch of the Magi window do not rely on haste, as we're going to only be able to get a set amount off anyways. So there's not going to be much importance to haste, and it can actually negatively impact you if you are burning too much mana without having a high enough mastery value to counter that haste value. Now that's going to be the basic explanation. There is a little bit more to this, but we'll leave that for another video for now. We'll just go over the basic concepts, right? So going into our poll now. So there's going to essentially be two primary phases with any covenant that isn't Kyrian: a build phase and a burn phase. Okay. So building is when we are generating our Clearcast procs for the burn phase. It does take about 15 seconds to effectively build those Clearcast procs for the burn phase. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have a 15-second window to effectively build those Clearcast procs. that means you need 15 seconds where you're able to burn your mana pool. So you do need to pay attention to that mana pool, okay? So let's start off our pull here. On pull, whether it's Mythic Plus or a raid encounter, you need to get to 4 charges first. It's the most important thing. You want to get to those 4 charges. So if we have a pre-pull timer, say we have 2 seconds or however long more than 2 seconds prior to the pull, we're going to hard cast an Arcane Blast into Orb and 1 more blast. Boom, we're now at 4 charges, and we can start our first build phase. Now, say you did not have any pre-pull timer or any time to build pre-pull, what we're going to do here is now we're going to do it without. So say it's a Mythic Plus, Pride died, our tank's just running straight into the boss. Our first build is going to be Orb, and then we're going to cast Blast. Okay? Now that we've done our pre-pull and our pull phase, we go into dropping our Rune of Power, and then we're going to use those 15 seconds to then spam Blast and generate our Clearcast procs. Now, as our Rune of Power is coming to an end here, we're going to Barrage, Touch of the Magi, AP, use all of our Clearcast procs. There we are. End with a Barrage, Orb, Shifting Power, and then we will Shifting Power again. And now you can see here, we're at 15 seconds on our Touch of the Magi, and we have Rune available, and we're at 80% mana. So I would then go, you guessed it, straight into another build phase. So now I have my build time. Rune, Touch of the Magi. And now we're doing our next mini burn phase here, ending with another Barrage into Orb, and then that will be the end of my first primary rotation. So I'm going to break that down again. We're going to break down why and how I'm doing this effectively and what I'm thinking of when I'm doing this. Okay. So I have started with my 4 charges. Now, as I'm going into, I'm going to click this Clearcast off. As I'm going into my build phase, what I'm looking at. Okay, so say everything's off of cooldown here. I have 4 charges. I'm looking at 3 things, okay? I'm wanting to be aware of how long my rune has left. I'm wanting to be aware of my mana conservation, where I'm at with mana, and how many Clearcast procs I have. If I do get 3 Clearcast procs exponentially early, say I get it, in the first 6 seconds of my Rune of Power, I could actually Barrage and then go straight into my Touch of the Magi AP go. It's not going to mess with your CD timers that much, but what it will do is it will conserve your mana pool, okay? So that is an option. Now, if you're like my alt here and have very low mastery, you'll want to do that just to make sure you are able to conserve mana. But if you're not like my alt, or you have a bunch of mastery and an offset, well, you got to keep burning. So you can actually just burn all the way down to the end of your rune timer. You will have enough mana to be fine. You always Barrage at the end. You'll have 3 Clearcast procs. You'll have no charges. Then when you cast Touch of the Magi will give you 4 charges. You'll go into AP, which I have bound to use my Troll Racial and my IQD, as you can kind of see here. I will then have used those 2 trinkets, or my IQD and my Troll Racial, my bad. And then I can go into spamming Arcane Missiles, ending after my 3 Clearcast procs go away with a Barrage. Now, say I only had 2 procs there, but when I go to cast my 3rd proc, I get a Clearcast proc. This actually happened. If you kind of rewind back in the video a little bit, I had 2 charges going into my mini burn, but I got a 3rd off of my 3rd cast. I then interrupted my cast of a non-Clearcast missiles with the Clearcast missiles proc. So that is something you'll want to be aware of. Missiles, as a Clearcast, can generate a Clearcast too, so that's important to note. Once you get that end of the burn phase, and you've cast your Barrage, you've ended your Touch of the Magi with that Barrage, you then are going to go into Orb to get back to 2 charges, Shifting Power, That'll get your cooldown of orb down low enough to where you orb again. Then you're going to be at 4 charges. You guessed it. Your rune is going to be coming up in 15 seconds, along with your Touch of the Magi in 15 seconds. And that will then lead you into the second burn phase. And, of course, first off, the second build phase. So it perfectly lines up to where you have those timers to then go into that build phase. You essentially will then build back up. Now at this point, you got to be aware of your mana, right? Since we've already done one build phase and we've already done a burn phase, going into our second build phase, I entered with around 70 to 80% mana if I'm remembering correctly. Since I'm going in with 20% less mana, got to remember I'm going to end with 20% less mana, meaning I'm going to actually end nearly out of mana, okay? And then I'm going to need to evocate after. So we'll do it one more time, full speed, and I'm going to try and talk through it here. So I'm on pull, pre-pull, orb, blast, rune, build phase. We're looking at our timer, we're looking at our mana. There's one clear cast. Looks like I'm going to get no clear cast procs this time. We dump, Touch of the Magi, AP. Come on, clear cast, please. No clear cast. Barrage, orb, shifting power. Orb again. We have 15 seconds left on our Touch of the Magi, so we're burning here. I'm low on mana since I didn't get a lot of clear cast procs there. I use a mana gem. This time I did actually get some clear casting procs. I'm out of mana right now though, so I'm going to have to evocate early. And then we go into rune, Touch of the Magi. And we're burning. And we barrage. Orb. Now I'm going into a little bit of a chill phase here, where I'm trying to conserve my mana. We're just using our clear cast procs. Right now, as you can kind of see, there's 30 seconds on Touch of the Magi, 15 seconds on Shifting Power. So I'm not going to have any way to deal damage for that next 15-second window, okay? And then we'll kind of stop there for a second, kind of pause. So note how my mastery impacted my damage go there, right? I did not have a lot of mastery, and I was inversely affected. I was then unable to generate enough clear cast procs to go into my clear cast procs, dealing a lot of damage. And that really hurt my damage profile here. Very, very hurt my damage profile. My Touch of the Magi, which could be a very large Touch of the Magi, ended up being a very small Touch of the Magi because I did not have those clear cast procs. So, important things to note on just how mastery impacts the build. Now that is going to be your basic single target rotation, and you're going to repeat that rotation. So, or blast if you don't have time for pre-pull, blast or blast if you do, rune, 15 seconds of building, barrage, Touch of the Magi, AP, 3 missiles, use your clear cast procs, barrage, orb, shifting power, orb again, then you're going to have 15 seconds again, build phase. If you didn't get a lot of clear cast procs, you're going to have to use a mana gem here. You may even have to evocate if you don't have a lot of mastery, as you just saw that happen to me. You get up to as many clear cast procs as you can get. Rune, Touch of the Magi, missiles, barrage, orb, and then you go back into a small downtime phase where you're then waiting for your cooldowns to come back up. In the downtime phase, depending on your mana, you can either hold 4 charges for a bit and blast, you can use missiles for a bit if you're wanting to be more mana conscious, or if you have no mastery, you barrage dump and then hard cast missiles to generate back to 4, and then dump again and repeat that cycle until you're about, you guessed it, 15 seconds away. Then you go into the build phase again and repeat from there. If you have any questions about how these basic and intermediate concepts of single target rotations function, please comment down below. I'll be more than happy to answer. And if you feel like there's something missing in the video, let me know. I'd be happy to address that as well. Hope everyone enjoyed. Have a great day.